Making thousands of dollars from a property you don't even own used to be the hottest thing out there. And as someone who started like this and scaled to $34,000 per month in remote income, I can attest to that. But in the last year or so, Airbnb's caught an ugly reputation.
Hand up if you think the answer is yes to the question, short-term rentals are contributing to the housing crisis.
The Airbnb bust is upon us. Well, guess what? The stock is getting shellacked today. What's going on, and why could this be a good thing for overall society?
Now let's rewind a little bit. Airbnb Arbitrage is like being a matchmaker between property owners and travelers. You sign a sublease addendum with the landlord, essentially borrowing their property to rent out on Airbnb. And the reason this works is because short-term rentals allow you to make extremely high cash flow, which covers all the expenses and leaves you with $2,000 to $3,000 per month in profit or even more. I started doing this in December of 2021 after struggling to scale my portfolio with traditional rentals for 3 years. I got hooked on Airbnb because I got to $15,000 in bookings in the very first month, $9,000 of which was clear profit. And in the following years, I continued this approach and even used the high cash flow to purchase the properties I was re-renting. But things started to change as more and more people rushed in trying to take a piece of the pie for themselves. Last summer, reports of Airbnb revenue dropping by 50% started to appear in cities like Phoenix and Austin. Now this turned out to be false, and according to Airbnb, the revenue dip was actually around 3.6%. Now the reason for this is because 13,000 new listings hit the market, so of course there's going to be more listings and more competition, so the people that had their listings available were starting to see a decrease in bookings. But things didn't continue getting better since New York even banned Airbnbs last September with the regulation called Local Law 18.
Thousands of Airbnb and other short-term rentals face a crackdown in New York City as Local Law 18 takes effect.
They hit Airbnb hosts with strict regulations that made it almost impossible to have a thriving Airbnb business. This de facto ban requires all Airbnb and VRBO hosts to, number one, register with the Mayor's Office of Special Enforcement. Number two, only rent out a place you're living in, so goodbye to investment properties. Max, you can only have 2 guests at a time, and you also have to be present with the guest. And the minimum stay is 30 days, which doesn't even count as a short-term rental at this point. And this is why I created the bridge method, an alternative and better way of doing Airbnb arbitrage. Now, before I explain the key differences between Airbnb arbitrage and the bridge method, I want to address the elephant in the room, which is the claim that Airbnbs are causing the housing crisis. Now, the truth is they're not causing the crisis, but they are contributing a little bit to it. After a deep dive into the numbers and data with the help of Airbnb, it's clear that a solely Airbnb included housing crisis is just not possible. Now, Airbnbs do impact home prices in the area, but they're not the main driver of the housing crisis that we have today in America. The low supply, the high interest rates, and inflation, along with uncontrollable population growth, are the main drivers of the crisis. Not to mention there are 1.5 million homes listed for sale, while a whopping 16 million sit empty. There are so many more factors that play a role in the current housing crisis, so it's not true to say Airbnb is causing the housing crisis. So with that out of the way, I want to quickly explain what the bridge method is and why it's a more ethical way of doing Airbnb arbitrage. One of the key problems with the traditional approach to Airbnb arbitrage is that people can scale to 100 plus sublease properties while offering bad service. The result is a lot of occupied long-term rentals and a huge pool of competitors on Airbnb. Now, me and over 1,000 students who use the bridge method to make money with Airbnbs are taking on a different approach. And it's the reason why we continuously make money while the rest of the population makes you think that Airbnb is collapsing. Instead of aggressively scaling and trying to get to as many properties on the market as possible, we do the exact opposite. We focus on finding properties in profitable micro locations away from all the chaos, and we put 10 times more effort into them. That means we invest heavily into design, amenities, and the guest experience. To put this into perspective, my worst performing Airbnb makes more cash flow than my 40 rental unit portfolio combined. Another example is my student Chad, who makes over $90,000 per year from just one property alone. And 3 months ago, I posted an interview on my channel with Hampton. His Airbnb generated $20,000 in revenue in the first month since going live. The bridge method is not only more ethical, but it's also simpler to do because it allows you to focus on quality over quantity. Instead of dealing with a bunch of sublease properties and hundreds of guests every single month, regular people launch one property that replaces their 9-to-5 job in a matter of 3 to 4 months. I have 7 Airbnbs that cash flow $34,000 per month, and to be honest, I could launch 20 more properties with the funds and experience I accumulated over the years. Now, I'm not going to do that because I heavily focus on an investment metric today, which is return on time investment, which means that instead of going for the highest ROI, I go for the highest return on investment. So going with the bridge method and focusing on providing quality experiences allowed me to quit my 9-to-5 back in 2021, shortly after launching my first Airbnb. I also set up a remote team that does all the work for me, so I can work a couple hours per week and spend the rest of my time how I want to. So to recap, Airbnb arbitrage is still possible, but the old approach, 99% of people who just want quick money, is gone, and I'm happy with this. Because now you actually have to put effort into number 1, finding and researching locations, number 2, finding and researching properties, number 3, designing them well and having attractive amenities, 4, creating a professional listing with professional photos, and number 5, learning how to use technology to automate and upgrade your business. At the end of the day, Airbnb is a hospitality business, and you have to find areas where tourists regularly come to, but at the same time, you can't just go to these super saturated places where everyone wants to go. So to recap, the bridge method is a new way of doing Airbnb for people who want to invest into real estate, but they can't afford a property due to these insanely high interest rates and home prices. And all this can be done remotely without leaving your house. You can own the properties, you can sublease them in different states. In fact, my first one was in Arizona and I live in Utah. And this entire process can be done remotely with your boots on the ground team like your handyman, movers, and cleaners. It's like playing Sim City but with real houses and people. So if you're interested in launching your first Airbnb you don't own, you can click the link in the description to book a free call. And as always, if you found this video valuable, please give it a like, subscribe so you don't miss any videos, and I'll see you in the next one.